Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever channel development notes of the Level Up series. I'm Mr. Gaming, and I hope this video helps you. So, what is this video and why did I make it? So for those of you who don't know me, I am hell-bent on making a fun and successful living as a YouTuber and eventually streamer. I dream of the day that I'll eventually have 1 million subscribers and lots of content creator friends who I'll be able to make fun and projects with every day. I decided to make records of my growth, which I called the Level Up series. Very true. The goal being to show recorded evidence of success and failures over a long period of time that others could learn from without turning my channel into a tutorial channel. I don't want to do that. So initially, I was going to show off every little stage of growth I made, but some of that growth didn't make sense from an analytical standpoint. So basically, if the Level Up series was meant to be a series that's kind of like an autobiography of how I improve and how other people could learn from watching me improve from the ground up, from like 0 subscribers to wherever I end up, I wanted it to make sense from an educational standpoint. But there were some cases, like with the Leitmotif Challenge. The Leitmotif Challenge is just me trying out FL Studio for the very first time. And the problem with that is that this is just a video of me being very bad at making music. It's not actually something that shows off anything super interesting at all. So, you know, of course I'll leave them on the channel for people to check if they want to, but I'm not going to leave them in this Level Up series because that doesn't make sense. So I figured, what if we had turned this into kind of like a newscast or some sort of developer notes sort of thing? Quick, dirty, no analytics, just true facts, true results, and just post it as something that people could read off of and kind of learn where I'm coming from. And that's what this video is. So here's what I learned. Videos are made of 3 parts. They're made of a thumbnail/title, content/body, and an ending/call to action. And each of these 3 parts are equally important. Your video will only perform as your worst portion. Basically, thumbnail/title will give you attraction. Basically, there are 500 million videos uploaded onto YouTube every single day, and people are going to be shifting through them like crazy on your phone or computer or whatever else. And your thumbnails and title are going to be what give attraction to people. It's going to make people, it's the thing that's going to make people want to click on your videos over somebody else's. Because if no one clicks on your videos, then they're not giving you the time of day. They're not giving you the chance to show off what you made. Body/content gives you substance, and substance is the meat and potatoes of your channel. It's the stuff you make. It's the reason why people come and find you. So you want to make sure it's good because, you know, if you don't make stuff that's good, people are going to remember you for your mediocrity. You want to make content that's enjoyable, that people are going to want to come back and watch lots and lots of. And lastly, we have ending/call to action, and that gives you retention. So basically, very few people are going to see the end of your videos because the only people who are going to watch that to the end are going to be people who are truly invested in what it is that you're doing, and you don't want to let them go. And so to avoid letting them go, you're going to give them basically leads to other content that you make that might be similar that they might also enjoy. You're essentially pretending to be the YouTube algorithm. You're basically suggesting videos for the viewer, the goal being to get viewers to come back and watch you more and more and not be released into the wild wilderness of YouTube algorithm land, you know? Because if people come back and they watch you over and over again, they might seek you out in the future. They might be more invested with the stuff that you make. And it's more likely that those people are going to subscribe and support you and do all those wonderful things that content creators want them to do. So the way that we achieve these 3 things is that we build up our skill sets, and that's what I've been doing lately. So there's a quote from Markiplier that we'll share right now. It's not actually from Markiplier himself. Well, I mean, it is from Markiplier himself, but it's not actually one that he made on his channel. He made it when he was being interviewed by the Corridor Crew, a group of VFX artists. And here's what he has to say.
Realize that making videos is the start of a never-ending journey of looking inward at yourself and measuring of what you're capable of doing against an arena of people that have been doing it for years. It's like any creative medium, there are people in that field that are better than you are at that moment, and that can be crippling. That can be devastating.
So what he's basically saying, it's a great quote, by the way. What he's basically saying is that we have limitations, especially when we don't know what we're doing when we start off on working on any type of creative media. And that doesn't mean that we can't do anything because we're lacking. It just means that we need to work with what we've got to the best of our abilities. And so many people, including YouTube teachers like Nick Nimmin, recommend building your skill sets and making that your #1 priority when you start off on YouTube. So basically, we're going to learn about, you know, video types. We're going to take chances. We're going to experiment with all sorts of different video ideas, and we're going to record our findings with the ultimate goal being to educate ourselves and better ourselves and make ourselves better creators. One of those creators who have been doing things, as Mark says, for years and years and years, and just becoming better skills overall. They didn't start with that knowledge, you know? And I made a video a little while ago. Actually, it was quite a while ago, but you know, a little while ago that talks about processes, the ability to make something better and better. And basically, you start with an idea, and that idea is limited by your resources, your skills, and your knowledge. And that leads to the creation of your first content. That first content is released to the public. That public then gives you feedback, and that feedback will undergo analysis. The two types of analysis are comparative analysis and SWOT analysis. Comparative analysis is quite literal. It's comparing your content to something else. So it could be comparing your current content to older content that you made. It could be comparing your content to similar content that somebody else made. Basically, you're trying to look for differences to see why is something more successful or less successful than something else. SWOT analysis is a business term. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths, what are we good at? Weaknesses, what are we bad at? Opportunities, what can we do better? And threats, what are we going to avoid in the future? And as you try to learn these things, you're going to have to do research. And as you do research, you're going to get more resources, more skills, and more knowledge. And that is going to be brought into your next idea, your next video, and your next content is going to be the result of that. And then that in turn gets released to the public. You get feedback, yada, yada, yada. It loops around and around and around. And as you work, you're going to get better and more interesting, more fun videos, each one being better than the last. So here's what I did. My biggest problem by far is that my content is not the best. The content / body is probably the worst part of that trio. And that's largely because I had to make a lot of these videos in college when I was very, very busy. So I try to make 3 different video types that focus separately on a beginning, a middle, and an end for the body portion of the video. The first video was my usual shitty Let's Play. These are the videos I made a lot when I was in college. Basically, they're just raw footage that I just record, play a game, and then just post on the internet. Not a whole lot special goes on with them. The second was a Supercut, which is basically a mega compilation of one game that I play for a long period of time. And then the last one was an analytical video. And to clarify, the analytical video didn't have to be a video about analyzing something. It could have also just been a video about top 10s, or a video about a skit, or a video about like a deep thought process, or an educational video. It didn't matter. Basically, whatever video I had to write a script for, that was the point of the third video. That was the point of the analytical video. And to make the data more accurate, to see how focusing on the beginning, middle, and end affected these videos, I try to make all 3 videos based off of similar games, Pokemon. So this is Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and then we had Legends Arceus, and then we had a mix of Legends Arceus and Breath of the Wild. They all fall into the category of Pokemon. I'm not a Pokemon exclusive channel or even a Nintendo's exclusive channel. I just did this because it would give me results for similar games. And here's what I learned. So for the first video, the Let's Play, the Let's Play is the same type of videos as all my bad videos before. As I said, it's just half an hour to several hours of bad content where I have a potentially faulty mic and I'm just setting things up and I'm just playing a game and then I just post it as is with very little done to it. But for this video, I did add a hook to catch people's attention. And the results were pretty impressive. People stayed on average for 10 minutes for this video, whereas in past videos, they would leave after only 1.5 to 2 minutes. And while those numbers may not seem like much, this was a 500% increase in view time caused by a very small amount of work. And we'll kind of display that here. We'll say bye to Mark for now. If we go over here, so this is an old video I made for Pokemon Sword. Out we go. First few seconds.
So apparently Grant has a house along Route 2. Hey there, trainer. Sorry to stop you. You just left the Pokemon lab, right?
So first few seconds, I'm just go straight into the game. There's nothing special. I'm just playing the game, and literally it's just a recording of me playing a game with no context whatsoever. And then we have my Brilliant Diamond video. This is the first experimental video, and here's how it starts. The wonderful world of Pokemon. Home to a nearly endless array of creatures that seem to increasingly infiltrate on each other's habitats with each passing generation. In the sky, beneath the seas, in open fields, or cavernous depths. These mysterious creatures can be found everywhere and have been with us for as long as any human memory. Yet despite our time... Okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I ramble on for a while, but the point is that one of those two was a much more striking start than the other one. And so it's no wonder that we had a bigger interest in one type of video than the other. So next time I will add a hook to nearly all my content, even if the video is unscripted, just because of how easy it is and because of how much more fun it is. It's actually fun to make those really short, like little skits at the very beginning of a video. And the other thing I'll do is I'm going to try to make the hooks a little shorter. That hook that I displayed went on for about like 30 seconds, and it gets a little tiring after a while. My goal is to kind of knock it down to like a 5 to 15 second length, but I'll add more time if I feel I need it. The whole point of a hook is that it's supposed to be like a preview that brings hype to a video before it starts, to get people really invested and really interested and not want to change, videos right away. Because when people watch a video for a while, they typically will make their decision whether to continue watching it or not after the first few seconds. And if you can get them invested, they get like too lazy to leave right away. They might do so anyway if the content's bad, but a hook really does a lot. So for the supercut, which focused on the middle of the content, the supercut focused on the main body of the content and just making the content overall just more interesting. So there's no hook, but it's better than just playing a video straight up outright with nothing special attached to it, right? Supercut took effort. And so while I didn't add a hook for this, the average view duration was over 20 minutes long, making this my most viewed video ever. There are even a few people who watched the entire thing, which is crazy because the video is over 2 hours and 40 minutes long. So lots of watch time on this, which made me very happy. And interestingly, there was a big drop in viewers after the first minute 36 for the video, whereas the Let's Play video had a drop after 10 minutes. And that is obviously because when I started off the supercut did not have any kind of opening. It was just, again, here's the content's right away. So I had that drop in viewership within that first minute 36, but that still, despite having that drop in viewership, that didn't change the fact that a lot of my viewers still watched it for 20 minutes on average. So imagine what would have happened if I had a hook at the supercut instead of in the Let's Play. Probably would have been it would have blown up. It would have been a much more successful video, I think. So the main thing that we learned from the supercut workflow, or from the supercut, was the workflow. Basically, supercuts take a really, really long time to make. And so I had to learn how to make one quickly so I'm not taking as long a time to make one of these in the future. So this video in particular took 5 weeks to make and required over 50 hours of gameplay recorded, which then had to be broken down and sorted into its best portions for one video. So I took 50 plus hours and I had to break that down to 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I learned a cool trick for making this easier is to run a stopwatch while I am recording a video. So basically, if you look at OBS Studio, OBS down here in this little red that says record has a timer as it's recording that goes by hours, minutes, seconds. And if you go to a program like a video editor, they will also record their footage by hours, minutes, and seconds and milliseconds. Well, built into Windows is this handy dandy little thing here. It's a stopwatch that also records in hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. And the cool thing about this is that you can hit this little flag here for laps for 5, 6, 7, and the laps will actually record all the individual laps here on the side of when you hit this button. And at the end of your video, what you can do is you can right click, you can copy the laps, and you can paste this onto a Word document. So what I found made my work a lot faster was that if I would run one of these with the same timing as when I click on start for the video, I could use this on a chart. Basically, I could use this and paste it on a Word document, title the Word document and the recorded video the same title. Like they would both be titled Pokemon Legends Arceus 1 for the first recording I do. That's like 6 hours in length. Instead of having to shift through 6 hours of content for good footage, I would have all the moments of good footage listed right here at just the click of a button. And that made the work a lot faster. So very useful tip there. It cut down my work a lot. And another really cool trick I learned was that once you cut out the portions of videos that are bad, and once you cut out the dead air, I was left with about 7 hours remaining of footage that I had to cut down into the 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? So I found that basically I would just look through the parts of the footage that were interesting, all 7 hours of it, because remember, all those 7 hours are interesting hours of footage, and I would just choose which one I liked over others. But then I had to break it down into segments. And the reason you break it down into segments is because when you do a compilation, typically funny moments or good moments in a compilation will only last from 4 to 14 seconds on average, and averaging closer to around 8 seconds. So I found that there's a command I could do on my Stream Deck that would basically be a mass multi-action hotkey that would split the videos into 8-second segments. Basically, you would move over 8 seconds in my video editor, do a cut, move 8 seconds again, do a cut, and basically would do this every 8 seconds. And by doing that, I was able to cut the video into tiny portions that were already ready for the format of a mega compilation, but I was able to cut out like the most microscopic bits of dead air or throw in little edits very quickly because they're already in 8-second formats. And that took a while. I had to write 915 individual commands for that because unfortunately you cannot copy and paste inside something like a Stream Deck. So, but yeah, it was another useful tool at my disposal. So next time I will have a stopwatch with me from the very start. This was a very useful time-saving technique. I will cut out the dead air and interesting part of the video immediately after I record them so that the final editing process is not done all at once. One mistake I think I did do is that when I was recording Legends Arceus, I basically played the game over the period of a week, right? Like just a solid week of playing Legends Arceus. And then I spent several hours editing it afterwards. And that is what took me the remainder of the 4 weeks. So I think what makes a lot more sense is that basically when I finish the recording, use that little timer right away to cut out the dead air and the bad portions immediately, save it in a video editor file, and just leave it there. And basically the next time I do a recording, just add it so that I have a lot less work to deal with when I have to do the finishing touches for the supercut. I can get to work on it in bits and pieces right away when the game is over and the recording is ready to be turned into a compilation. I'm also going to throw in more transitions between scenes. I find that what makes these compilations so interesting, largely, is when you have transitions that do a lot of zoom in or close-up effects or sound effects or things like that. That's what makes some supercuts stand up above others. So definitely I'll throw in more of that in the future, especially since now I can make this content faster. And I won't worry too much about getting these out quickly. Supercuts require you to play like an entire game first. So they're meant to take a long time. And because it's just footage from one game and literally nothing else, they're pretty simple to make. So you can juggle them with other projects fairly easily. So next up, we have the scripted video. So I messed up really badly. The point of Nintendo Souls 2 is that it was supposed to focus on the ending portion of a video, which is basically the ending / call to action. But the number of mistakes caused it to be a really bad example, and I couldn't use it for that. But despite that, because of all the mistakes I made in it, and because of how like tough it was, I ended up learning more from this video than from any other video I made to date. So initially, I want to make an analytical video about Nintendo Souls games, and the ending would lead to a link of my Legends Arceus Supercut, which is one of the two games that I was comparing in Nintendo Souls 2. And so the main causes of mistakes was basically the duration. Nintendo Souls 2 is planned to be around 10 minutes long and take 6 to 8 days to complete, but unfortunately I rambled. The video took over 3 weeks to finish, and the script ended up being 9 pages long. And due to this ridiculous length, I would miss mistakes in my script structure and make mistakes in my recording, which I was too tired to fix after multiple takes. So in some cases, it'd be a structure example would be like, I talk about, hey, here are some problems that we're going to talk about in each individual section. And some sections I talk about the problem, and some sections I wouldn't talk about the problem until the very ending of the video. And so that was an example of bad structure. But there was also things like just simply messing up on the recording because of how long it was and how tired I was from doing multiple recordings of this because of how long the script was.
Pokeballs have just been invented, so you learn how to throw them. Then you're introduced to the town and Galaxy Expedition team. Then you're introduced to Pokemon battles and place where you're going to catch Pokemon. I missed a the. So dumb things like that. So definitely if the video was shorter, if I had less to work with, I could make more edits for a more impressive video, and I would make less mistakes when writing and recording. And also, surprisingly, Nintendo Souls was the hardest video to make out of all of these. Because when you make a supercut, you're just recording it based off of one game. So it's one media file that's just kind of stretched out into infinity. But when you're working with a script and you have to get scenes from all over the place, I'm working with a lot more media sources, which means I had to have more timelines open at once. And collecting footage is also a pain since I had to get that footage from all over the place. There'd be some cases where, like, if I wanted to see a scene with a specific boss in it, right? I would either have to play the game to the point where I'd actually meet that boss, and sometimes bosses are only available on a certain part of the game, so it could be that I have to play the game for several hours to see the boss, or I'd have to go get that footage off of the internet from somebody else. And normally that's not a problem, but what if it's something like
I want to ride my deer onto this cliff to show off this scenery because the scenery has something to do with what it is that I'm saying. In an event like that, you run into the issue where chances are, unless somebody else is also thinking that they want the exact scenery at the exact time of the day and the exact pose, you won't be able to get that footage from somebody else. And even if somebody else did have that footage, it's not like their entire video or footage that you're taking the initial concept from is going to be based about that one scene. That one scene is probably going to be like a 3-second span within somebody's several minute, hour, whatever long video. So unfortunately, I have to go get a lot of that footage myself, and that's very time consuming. And speaking of time consuming, because the timeline files were so huge and had so many layers to them, I would basically lag like crazy on my computer. And until I learned what proxy media was, my processor and RAM would be pushed their limits. So I'd have to take breaks from editing sometimes just to let my PC catch up to my edits and stop lagging. I am not a video editor professionally, so I had no idea what proxy media was. And at the time, my computer looked like this. And my computer is not a potato by any stretch of the imagination. This is a 4-core processor, and I have 40 gigabytes of memory. That's pretty substantial since the recommended uses for something like DaVinci Resolve is a 2-core processor and 32 gigabytes of memory. And the processor, frankly, wasn't at 100% all the time. It was in this case because I was doing a heavy load. But yeah, learning what proxy media was, learning how to shrink down media files into smaller represented files was definitely like a huge lifesaver. So next time I will keep the script within 3 pages with an extra half page for headroom. I did some tests and found that 3.5 pages typically makes up 10 minutes of dialogue, right? So 3 pages plus headroom gives some space for, wrapping up a story and throwing in some edits. Next, I will sort and number my media so that the extra timelines aren't as confusing when I record source files. So again, if I have to record source files, like I need a particular scene, I found that what makes the job a little faster is that if I take my script and number it, like I number each individual paragraph or portion that I speak in order, then when I play a game, instead of recording a 2-hour segment and then looking through that 2-hour recording for individual portions that I want to put in the video, what I can do is I can instead record like individual parts. Like I can record like individual parts that are only a few seconds long and number those parts when I finish recording them. And then after that, it's just as simple as, getting clip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a timeline, as opposed to having 2 timelines next to each other and having to scan through one of those timelines for a media source file. So that's another thing that saved me a lot of time. I'll use proxy media for all my video edits from the very start. Proxy media is a lifesaver. I'm glad I learned it. And I'll replace the lesser duration with more edits and effects. Basically, I don't think it would take me another 3 weeks to make one of these videos after making it the first time. I think I could do it faster next time. So let's replace some of that time with making the edits a little more impressive and not choking on some of the script. So other things I learned that were kind of related. One is that I upgraded my RAM. So instead of 40 gigs of RAM, I now have 56 gigs. I learned that organization is the key to working quickly. Finding source media is a pain otherwise. The stopwatch idea is wonderful. Very glad for the stopwatch. I can add hashtags and descriptions. That had nothing to do with the other projects. I just found it out recently, and it's been a very helpful thing for making my content easier to find. Any video with a script should be kept under 10 minutes. Shorter videos can be made faster, result in fewer mistakes, and keep my interest in the project. At the end of my 3rd week, I really want most projects to be over with already so I can move on to the next idea. That's very true. I do not want things taking 3 weeks anymore. Script formats actually work really well for captions. Seriously, go watch Nintendo's 2. It's properly captioned, unlike the Supercut. So the way that captions work in YouTube, and I found this out recently, is that the auto captioning in YouTube is not very good. It will basically mess up a lot of your words. It will replace some of your words with other words that the machine thinks are right, even though it will make like incomplete sentences and just weird phrases overall. Like you could mistake something like cat for sat or rat or anything that has like an AT in it, right? It's not very good at articulating human speech, deciphering human speech. However, it is really good at matching up written text with human speech. So if you write a script ahead of time and you just kind of throw that script willy-nilly into the captioning, the captions for YouTube will match up that script with what you're saying pretty accurately. So I discovered that if you want to get captions done easily and you're wondering how people who have several hour long videos have captions, basically writing the script first goes a long way to making that process a lot easier. There are services you can hire to do captioning for you, but they're expensive. And depending on how long your video is, they can be really expensive. So, learning how to write a script is a useful skill. Probably the most important lesson of all, how long something takes to make and how long it should take to make are two very different things. Now that I know how to make these videos as well as their limitations, I need to make them more efficiently. If I think that a video should take 3 days to make, then it needs to be made in 3 days. Figure out how. I cannot be doing these things anymore where it's like, I'm going to make a video in a week and it ends up taking me a month. That's a waste of time. I need to have production that's faster than that. So let's take some of what we learned and apply it to my current workflow. So for recording, after doing an audio check, you always do an audio check before you do a recording, I have a stopwatch at the ready beside me, run the stopwatch from the beginning at the same time as OBS recording title, and title a copy to match the video's name. We already talked about that. If I'm recording for a script, number the paragraphs in the script and then record the events in pieces. Number each recorded event to match the script's number. Is easier to put up a numerical 1 to 13. That is to hunt down 13 pieces of individual content in a single 2-hour recording. We talked about that as well. For scripts should be within 3 pages with an extra half page of headroom. Put structure first and foremost so that the video makes sense. Bullet points can help with this. Get more creative with writing. Make it feel different from a normal video or compilation. If I'm going to be bothering to write a script, I don't want this to sound like it's some sort of ad lib, So for formats, body/content, each video has a hook at the start, a middle with a structured context, and an ending with a call to action that will display similar results. First, think about the 3 parts of the body separately, then all together. We talked about that at length. Formats, editing. I can make all my media to proxies to prevent them from becoming super big. Having multiple timelines can make editing faster if you need to find source footage from 2 different games at once. Very true. Formats, uploading, add hashtags to the description, use keywords and titles, share content on social media platforms. You can use hotkeys to make this process faster if you have a lot to share. I don't yet, but I'm planning on it. So, all right, that's all that. The future, what's next for me? We're almost done, guys. Thanks for putting up with me for almost half an hour. So first things first, I want to make PDF files that show structures and helpful tips that I can add to Google Docs. So basically, I'm a self-taught YouTuber, essentially. I spent a lot of time watching tutorials on how to do editing and how to set up microphones and how to do this, that, and the other thing. And I record all that onto PowerPoint presentations or documents, kind of like this one, but a bit more detailed. And, while I'm working through these, I find that a lot of information out there is just incorrect. And it's information that I have to collect regardless in order to improve myself. So I figure, why not share the love? I spent several days worth of time trying to figure out how to make the mic sound as good as it does right now. This mic, as you hear it, is not been thrown into an editor or anything. This is how I sound raw. And it's pretty good. It's a lot better than it used to be. And it took me a long, long time to figure that out. But it's one of those things where it's like, even though it took me so long to learn, if I had to teach it to somebody else, I could tell them how to do it in like 15 minutes. Like, it's trivial. But it's just because I don't have a background, I don't really know what I'm doing. I find that's true for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people who try to solve the problem with tutorials and whatnot, but those tutorials either have a lot of them that are just straight up incorrect or are just outdated or are just, very lengthy for what they are. They don't need to take that long to explain something. So the PDF files I want to make are something I'm going to be posting in my description as kind of like a record of, if people are interested in the same kind of thing that I'm doing and they want to be on YouTube or Twitch or whatever else, and they want to make content and they have questions, I want to be able to answer those questions for them. Because think of it this way. Imagine if Markiplier, like big Markiplier himself, decided that he wanted to show you how to set up a microphone. Imagine if Lord Athelstan wanted to show you how to use FL Studio, and Athelstan set up like a really impressive step-by-step tutorial that he put a lot of work into. Maybe someone else like PewDiePie, CDogVA, God knows what, just all these different people showing you how to set up various aspects of YouTube. There's a lot of people who love that, but it doesn't typically happen with a lot of those larger content creators, does it? And I find that the reason for that is because A, it's a pain. They're not really dedicated to being tutorial channels. B, just because you're good at what you do doesn't mean that you're good at teaching. Teaching and doing something are two very different skill sets. And C, a lot of them just forget. Like a lot of them, the troubles that us new content creators go through are things that are common sense to them. So, they're troubles that they had back when they started long, long, long ago. And they'll remember some of it, but a lot of it they won't remember. So they may not have the confidence of being good teachers anymore. So, as I said before, I'm hellbent on growing my channel and becoming bigger and becoming better. And, if I do end up becoming one of the greats one day, if I do end up becoming one of those people who has like 1 million subscribers plus, if I do end up being a very impressive content creator, I kind of want to leave behind all this data, both as something for me to look back on, as for other people to see, like a record, as I said before, a record of my growth from 0 to wherever I am at the time you guys are watching this video. Currently, I'm running with 40 subscribers, and it is May 12th of 2022. So however big I am from there, from whenever you see this video, will kind of go to show as to whether or not I'm doing things right or not, I guess. So since Google Docs are owned by Google, and since YouTube is also owned by Google, and since you have to have a Google account in order to use YouTube, it kind of makes sense that I just kind of turn that stuff into PDFs and just kind of throw them onto my YouTube channel description. The idea being that there's going to be 3 different PDF files. The first one is going to be about the structure of YouTube and just general tips and where to find information. The second one is going to be tips on software, how to edit and stuff. And the third one is going to be based on hardware, the equipment that you'll need and the significance of that, and trying to simplify the process of purchasing hardware for yourself if you want to set up a YouTube setup, right? So that's the first thing I'm going to do. It shouldn't take too much longer to finish that. I'm already halfway done with one of them. I'm most of the way done with another. And the third one for hardware is pretty short and it's not going to take me a long time to get set up. So that'll be out sooner rather than later. I want to fully automate portions of my social media. Basically, I only run 2 social media platforms right now. I run Twitter and Pinterest. And that's not a lot. That's not a very impressive repertoire of networking. So I want to kind of expand into some other social medias and see how I can use them effectively. So I don't really know what social media I'm going to jump into exactly, but I'm going to figure that out as I go along. Maybe Reddit, maybe Instagram, maybe TikTok, who knows? Probably not TikTok. I'm not into making video shorts. Get an LLC. I'd love to make money doing this one day. Making a living off YouTube as a replacement for a part-time job, like that'd be the dream. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. Make icons for overlays and streaming artwork. That's going to take some time, but it'll be worth it in the end because it's going to make my content look really cool. Do a test stream. Never done one. My internet is real shit. So I kind of know ahead of time that my streams are not going to be very good looking right now with my current internet service. I'm running less than 0.5 right now. Twitch recommends a minimum of I think it was 5 or 6 upload speed. So we're not doing that for a while, but I can at least do a test stream to see how, the whole streaming setup works in OBS because I haven't done that yet. I actually, we'll get to that in a sec. So finish my doctor visit so I can exchange insurance costs for internet costs. I have to see the doctor for a few things, a few injuries. I'm getting them healed slowly, but they're getting healed, and it took me a while to get these doctor visits. And currently, I'm paying $340 a month for my insurance. You heard that number correctly. Medical insurance in the US is a biatch. But once that's over with, I should be able to take all that extra money. I'm going to switch to a much cheaper insurance, and I'm going to send that money into internet speed instead so I can do, more internet YouTube related stuff. Make more content. I haven't tried all the types of content yet. There's challenge content with punishments. There's group content. There's, fully written scripted content that I haven't tried yet. There's lots of different ideas that I could still play around with that I haven't really fully explored. We did 3 of them in these last few tests. I'd be happy to explore more in the future, and I very much look forward to doing that. Start streaming for real. Need internet first. I am kind of really invested in the idea of streaming. I think it'd be really fun. I'm not sure if I want to stream as a member of Twitch or stream on YouTube yet. I'll probably do both at the start, although I'm kind of leaning a little more towards YouTube because I've heard about the bad stuff that's been going on with Amazon lately. And some people in Twitch are kind of stressed out about that. People have been leaving. So we'll see. I still have to finish the whole monthly doctor visit. So until that's over with, I won't even consider this, but we'll figure it out when we get there. And yeah, streaming will hopefully make me a little closer to the people I'm going to be making content for. And that's pretty much it for now. Those are my main thoughts at the moment. So thank you very much for watching. If you felt like this video helped you at all, subscribe and look forward to the PowerPoint presentations slash extra developer note videos that are going to come out sooner rather than later. All right, I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.